Hello, my dog-loving listeners, and welcome back to The Walk and Talk. I'm Lisa, your host, your trainer, and absolutely the most dog-obsessed person you know, here with another weekly dose of dog chat that is hopefully going to help you make living life alongside your dog just that little bit more enjoyable, a little bit more pleasant, a little bit more wonderful as you move into yet another week together. Now, let me kick this episode off straight away with a question I want to ask you. Although, actually, let me flip that. I don't want to ask you directly, but I want to know if you've ever asked yourself this, okay? Is my dog bored? Because I think we've all been there, right? You're sitting on the sofa, your dog is either just unashamedly staring at you with those eyes, you know, the ones, or maybe they're pacing around, or God forbid, they've started chewing something they definitely shouldn't be chewing. And you wonder, what is wrong with my dog? Does this dog just need more to do? Well, today we're going to really dig into this question because the truth is, boredom and understimulation are some of the most overlooked causes of behavioral problems in dogs. And yet they're also one of the most misunderstood topics. Some people think throwing a toy at their dog is enrichment. Others think enrichment is some super complex, Pinterest-worthy project that requires you to freeze sardines inside 3 layers of Kong a week before serving. Some people think you need to spend a lot of money on complex enrichment products for dogs. I mean, that is just an incredibly massive market that I feel like has exploded in the past decade or so. Others are happy to just crack out a kitchen roll tube and get creative with it. So I want us to unpack this together today. We're going to talk about the unnatural lives our dogs live compared to what they're realistically actually wired for, because I think so many people forget the world we are asking our dogs to live in every day without respite, really, is not the world they were built for. We're going to look at why some breeds perhaps need more fulfillment than others. We're going to think about ways in which we can look at both our daily dog walks and our general lives at home with our dogs, and how we can make sure these are genuinely satisfying. I also want to talk about why enrichment and fulfillment really can be powerful antidotes to problem behavior. But I want to make sure we give balance to the fact that enrichment alone is not a magic wand either. I think the problem with social media these days, right? And bear with me, like, come with me down this narrative alleyway. I'm gonna bring us back to topic with this. But the problem with social media is that the algorithm now can be so tricky to satisfy. And so, as a professional myself, I know that dog trainers and behaviorists and anyone working in this industry, they are gradually being forced to make more and more outlandish statements, shall we say, or promises, or present increasingly controversial notions or ideas just in order to get their content seen at all. Like, you have to say something that no one has ever said before in order to spark engagement. It's wild. And so I can think of one individual whose entire brand now is basically built around the idea that dogs should not be trained. They should not be trained because training is not necessary, and that any and every behavior problem can actually be solved if that dog is simply delivered all the enrichment they could possibly need. So, for example, you want your dog to stop pulling on lead, they're just not fulfilled enough. You want them to stop barking at other dogs, more enrichment at home. You want to sleep train them and settle train them, they'll just do all of that stuff automatically as long as they're fully satisfied in terms of their species-specific drives. Now, don't get me wrong. Of course, enrichment and fulfillment and all that good stuff plays a massive part in tackling problem behaviors. And I'm so happy that we are talking about fulfilling our dog's needs over just disciplining them into doing what we want with force or punishment. But genuinely, please can we remember that training still matters, guys. I'm not saying it has to be rigid and boring and we have to have our dogs walking around like robots all the time, but truly, honestly, you still need to teach your dog the things you want him to know if you want him to know them. Do you know what I mean? Like this trainer said on some piece of content or another, oh, my dog doesn't know sit. I can't ask him to sit because I haven't trained him that. And I think, okay, I get that you're saying he should live naturally and he should be a dog, but truly, one of the most fun ways my dogs and I get to engage with each other every day and build our relationship, and I can grow their confidence and I can help them navigate human situations they otherwise wouldn't understand, is through the training that we do together. It creates a form of communication between us that feels almost sacred sometimes. It's a pastime we can both fully engage in as a team. And it just feels like such a wonderful way to invest in a relationship with an animal that is an entirely different species. So, whilst I am fully here for enrichment and fulfillment, I am also fully here for teaching our dogs behaviors, for us playing training games to grow their confidence or their flexibility or their impulse control. And I'm definitely here for anything that encourages you to engage with your dog on a one-to-one level. Ultimately, for a lot of dogs, training sessions are literally another form of brainwork and enrichment, aren't they? Which is what we're talking about today. Anyway, did I pull that off? Did I bring it back in? Who knows? Right, let's get your dog's lead on and let's get walking. So let's start with the big picture. Dogs, domesticated dogs as a species, are living in our world. And if you stop and think about that, it's actually kind of amazing, isn't it? Like every single day, our dogs are adapting to a life that is nothing like the one their wild ancestors lived. Way back when proto dogs, wild canids, would have spent their days roaming, scavenging, hunting, problem solving, socializing in structured groups, and making choices about where to go and what to do. And then you fast forward to today, and what do we actually ask of our dogs? Stay in the house, walk nicely on a lead, sleep, and do pretty much nothing while we're at work, please, which, by the way, is pretty much all day, 5 days a week. Be quiet when the Amazon delivery person comes. Please don't make a bloody fuss. Oh, don't dig up the garden. Actually, like, don't fuck with anything out there. Like, don't touch it because it's decorative. Thanks. Don't chase the squirrels. Don't bark at the neighbours. Please don't react to the cats or the birds that appear. Don't shred the sofa cushions. Actually, don't eat anything. Don't put anything in your mouth unless it's in this round thing that I put on the floor for you, and so on and so on. Right? It's ridiculous. In other words, don't do most of the things that your brain and body have evolved to do. Now, just for fairness, domestication has obviously changed dogs hugely. A Labrador is not a wolf, of course, we acknowledge this. But, and this is the important point, the underlying needs for activity, stimulation, and fulfillment have not vanished. They've just been reshaped. So, what do I mean when I say fulfillment? Well, essentially, fulfillment is that sense of satisfaction that comes when an animal engages in behaviors they are intrinsically motivated to perform. For us humans, think about how you feel after solving like a really tricky crossword. Does anyone still do crosswords anymore? I don't know. Or finishing a good, solid workout, or just getting stuck into like whatever hobbies you have that you love. You're not just tired afterwards, but you're satisfied, aren't you? And dogs have that same need. They are wired to chew, to dig, to sniff, to forage, to chase, shred, problem solve. And when we don't provide safe, structured ways for them to do those things, guess what? They'll improvise, won't they? And their improvisation rarely looks how we want it to. Chewing your shoes, digging up the flower beds, barking at passers-by. These are often not naughty behaviours. They are just your dog's attempt to meet those unmet needs. And of course, the type of fulfillment required or desired by your dog varies hugely depending on breed. And this is also such an important piece of the puzzle. Take your gorgeous border collie, right? Bred for generations to work sheep, which involves intense focus, lots of independent problem solving, speed, stamina, and masses of reactivity. Now, picture that same collie living in a 2-bed flat with a 20-minute lead walk once a day, or even twice a day. That's a recipe for disaster, right? Or think about a Dachshund, quite a popular breed at the moment. Bred to go down badger sets and tunnel, savage little dogs, genetically speaking. They were literally created to go underground, start fights with scary things, and finish those fights, right? Imagine the kind of mindset and drive required to breed a dog to want to do that. So, if you don't give them safe outlets to dig and chew and to doggedly pursue stuff, you're probably going to find your sofa cushions or your shoes or your underwear or all of the above are going to look like they've been through a shredder. Then, on the other end of the spectrum, you've got breeds like greyhounds, who often are quite content, to be honest, with little bursts of running and then super long naps. That doesn't mean they don't need enrichment. They absolutely do. But the intensity and the type might just be different to the dog next door. Understanding your dog's breed tendencies isn't about boxing them in, but it really does help you predict what kind of activities might really light them up. Now, let's talk about walks, because walks are often the only consistent daily activity our dogs get. But let me be very clear. There is a broad spectrum of the kinds of walks being delivered out there, believe me. Is your dog pacing it around the block every day with you, same route, same pace, no off lead time at all? Or do you have a repertoire of different environments? Do you incorporate sniffing and exploration? Are they allowed any time to roam off lead? A walk can either ultimately be boring and restrictive, or it can be the highlight of your dog's day. And it's kind of up to you, really. If you are marching your dog around the block, nose off the ground, pulling them along at human pace, that's not really very enriching. That's just exercise, and not even great exercise, really. Because a truly fulfilling walk for a dog involves lots and lots of sniffing. Did you listen to last week's episode on scent work? If you didn't, go and listen to that after this one, because the canine brain is basically built around the nose. There are estimates that dogs experience the world through scent as vividly as we experience it through vision. Imagine that. I mean, you literally can't imagine the olfactory input your dog is receiving from the world constantly. You can't, because we humans don't have the tools required to process it, full stop. It would be like trying to explain the way we see the world with our eyes to a mole. Is that right? Are moles, are they like basically blind? Is it voles? Whatever it is, some kind of little underground creature that is basically blind because it lives underground. They wouldn't see the value in stopping to look around and take in the gorgeous view because they can't see it. And it's the same for you and your dog and the smells they want to sniff. Allowing them that sniffing time lowers cortisol, it provides mental stimulation, and it truly satisfies deep instinctive needs that we as humans just don't have when it comes to smell. So slow down, let them sniff that lamppost for 2 whole minutes if they want to. Introduce variety, different routes, different textures underfoot, maybe even scatter some treats in the grass, let them forage for a bit. If you've got a high drive breed, you can incorporate training games whilst you're out. You can play tug, or you can retrieve while you're out on your walks. Basically, I'm saying, let's stop thinking of walks just as bathroom breaks, and let's remember they're one of the most interesting enrichment sessions we can offer each and every day. Okay? Right. That's walks nailed. Now, let's move inside the house. So, bluntly, I would say home life is where so many dogs experience the greatest levels of boredom, especially when they are left alone. And chew toys, puzzle feeders, licky mats, scent games, these are all tools we can use. But again, it doesn't have to be complicated. Even something as simple as hiding a few treats around the room and letting your dog go find it taps into those natural hunting instincts. Rotating toys is another big one that so many of us never bother with. Dogs, like kids, get bored of the same toy left out every day. Try putting half of them away and then just rotating which half is out each week. And suddenly the old toys are a little bit more exciting again. Food-based enrichment is also brilliant because eating from a bowl is honestly a wasted opportunity, in my opinion. Make them forage, shred, lick, puzzle solve their way to get to their food. You're feeding them anyway, right? So you may as well make it work for you and make it a little bit more interesting for them. And the Brucey bonus is the more enrichment you can get into their day, the more positive effect you will begin to notice when it comes to behavior. Because, like I said at the top of this episode, enrichment and fulfillment don't just prevent boredom, they actively reduce problem behaviors too. Not necessarily eradicate totally in all cases, but they are absolutely a huge piece of the puzzle when it comes to behavior modification. Because when dogs are fulfilled, their baseline stress levels drop, which means their nervous systems are calmer, which in turn means they're less likely to tip over into hypervigilance or reactivity or destructive habits. But, and this is important, so I'm going to say it again, enrichment is not a magic cure-all, despite what you've heard on Instagram. Sometimes I see people throwing puzzle toys at their dog, or they're spending hundreds of pounds on overcomplicated enrichment equipment, but then they're still struggling with lead reactivity or recall problems or separation anxiety or whatever it is. And they get really frustrated. But I'm doing all this enrichment, doing all this extra stuff. Why isn't it working? This guy on Instagram said this was the golden goose. Whereas really, what you need to know is enrichment is the foundation. It creates the conditions for training to work better. A fulfilled, balanced dog is more receptive to learning, but ultimately, behavior change still requires structure. It still requires teaching, and it needs reinforcement to make it stick. Think of it like this, right? If a child is hungry and tired and bored, they're not going to learn algebra no matter how good the teacher is. So fulfillment meets the dog's basic needs, but then training builds the skills they need to live successfully in our world. And in my opinion, you really do need both. So, some practical takeaways for you. What can you do this week to make sure your dog's needs are being met? Number one, let's start by auditing your walks. Are they enriching or are they just toilet breaks? Can you slow down and let your dog sniff more? Number two, add one enrichment activity per day. Don't overwhelm yourself, doesn't need to be super fancy. Even literally grabbing a handful of your dog's kibble and scatter feeding it in the garden counts. Don't overcomplicate it, okay? Number three, think breed specific. So, what was your dog bred to do, and how can you provide a safe outlet for that drive? If you have no idea where to start with that, go back and listen to my podcast episode on breed specific fulfillment. Loads and loads of ideas in there. Number four, rotate your resources. So, toys, chews, puzzle feeders, anything and everything. Keep them novel. Mix it up every once in a while. Keep things exciting. Number five, pair your enrichment with training. Don't expect enrichment alone to solve behavioral challenges if you are struggling with any in particular, but use it as the platform for teaching. And if you have no idea what to teach, how to train, what games and exercises you and your dog can work on together, head to my website, listendogtraining.com. There's literally loads of courses and guides and training packs that will guide you step by step and give you loads of ideas of where to get started. Because when we get this piece right, everything else ultimately gets easier. Training becomes smoother, problem behaviors do reduce, and life with your dog feels easier. It feels more connected and far more joyful. I mean, this was the whole reason you got a dog in the first place, right? To own a dog who's not just quiet because they're suppressed, but a dog who's genuinely content because their life is just rich and satisfying and they're happy. ultimately, happy dogs make happy owners, don't they? Um, and on that note, I think we can call it a day. I think we've done great work here, guys. Hopefully, you have got lots of ideas and a couple of actions you can just pop up your sleeve for future walks and evenings at home. I would love for you to try one new enrichment activity with your dog this week and then let me know how it goes. DM me on Instagram. I'm at Listen Dog Training and I bloody love getting all your pictures and your messages, your DMs, your little video clips of all the things you're doing. Honestly, it makes me so happy. Okay, so I guess there is nothing left to say other than thank you so much for joining me on this walk today, or letting me join you is probably more appropriate. And I will see you same time next week for another episode of The Walk and Talk.